Hey everyone, my name is Stacey Volcy. I am your host with the Ring of Democracy. Today we're here with Hla Elkhatib, who is running for the District 2 seat in Folsom City Council. And we're excited to have her for our series of candidate interviews. We are doing these interviews so voters like you can get to know the candidates better and understand why they're running. Because it's not just enough for us to tell you to go vote, but we want you to be educated on who you're voting for and why you're voting. So disclaimer, we are a nonprofit organization, a 501c3. We are non-political and nonpartisan. So these are purely educational. If you have any questions, please follow us on social media or check out our website, theringofdemocracy.org. So first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for joining us, Hla, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Stacey. It's great to be on. I'm so happy to be here to share my vision for Folsom.
Well, happy to have you. And I'm going to get right to it. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you and would love to know what got you started and why you're running. What led you to this?
Yeah. Well, like you said, my name is Hla Elkhatib. I am running for Folsom City Council in District 2 because it's where I grew up. It's the city that raised me. I'm passionate about giving back to Folsom. I think that there's a lot that can be done to maintain the quality of life that we all, especially as somebody who grew up there, know and love about Folsom. It's our high standard for public safety, our high standard for education, our high standard for being a family-friendly, business-friendly place to live. And I'm passionate about being somebody younger, lending a younger voice to our leadership to move that vision forward. I think young leadership is important on every level of government, and especially a local level where, policy decisions very intimately and directly impact residents on a day-to-day basis. So I'm happy to lend my voice and serve. Really what it is serving my community and my neighbors ultimately.
Well, thank you for that. Now, I'm gonna say, what do you say to the individual that might say you're very young, you're too young to be running? What do you know about politics? Wait your turn. What do you say to these individuals? How can you explain your expertise and how you plan to serve?
Yeah. What I say is exactly what I just said. I think it's very important to have the next generation of leaders involved civically on every level of government. We are the present. These issues directly impact us today, but most importantly, we're the future. And so if you don't have that perspective on the council, on leadership, I think that creates a deficit. And so I think me being a young leader is actually to my advantage, and I think it's a great contribution to any leadership dynamic and an important perspective to have. My personal experience in policy, I graduated from UC Davis with a political science degree and immediately started working for the state legislature, where I was able to get very hands-on policy experience and ultimately really come to understand how state, county, and local leadership all work together to create positive outcomes for communities. So I have the experience, but most importantly, I have the passion, and I think that's equally as important.
Okay, I know you shared the experience that you have in graduating from UC Davis. So my question is in terms of your experience or the time that you spent getting that experience. What is a memory that you have and something that stands out to you that's really important to be addressed if you were to get elected on city council?
Yeah, I think the experience I have in the legislature was really shaped by the community stakeholder groups I was able to work with, and being able to have a hand in passing legislation that very positively impacts a wide variety of communities was an incredibly rewarding experience because I got to see that tangible change in effect. And so for me, on a city level, I really want to make sure that I am reaching out to communities directly, that I am that they play a role in the policy making that we're doing, and that's why I've been out there talking to my neighbors in my district since March. To really make sure, even before I'm elected, that their vision is taken into consideration here and really shapes the decision making ultimately, because it is all about the residents.
Yeah, it really is. So speaking of that, a lot of people that I speak to, they do not know what a city council member does. Can you share like an office, if you were to be elected, what you would be able, like give examples to voters of things you'd be able to address as a city council member?
Yeah, so I think, it's the day-to-day issues that you and I both face in our, in our hometowns. It's the bread and butter, it's the roads, it's the maintenance, it's making sure that neighborhoods feel safe and that they're receiving the attention that they need to thrive and be able to maintain that quality of life. I think everything goes back to maintaining the high standard of quality life we have in Folsom. And so for me, that means being incredibly active in these neighborhoods and learning firsthand what is creating, barriers for them. And then whether it's roads that need to be maintained or feeling unsafe, it's also working with key stakeholders in our communities like police and fire and our local businesses and making sure that they have what they need from our leadership to also thrive. Folsom is known for being, small businesses are known for being the backbone of Folsom, and so I think it is also the council's role to continue to make sure that that stays how it is, and that our fire and police services are have what they need to thrive. So that's a little bit of what the council does, but really I think what it comes down to is making sure that our residents have everything they need on a day-to-day to feel safe and successful in Folsom.
Okay, what would you say is a priority for you if you were elected on city council on the issues that you discussed that you would want to address in Folsom?
Yeah, I think there's lots happening in Folsom. For me, I'm very passionate about youth issues. I think, making sure that Folsom is a great place to live for all residents, for the next generation to be able to stay and thrive. So working on affordability and housing issues is incredibly important to me. I also think public safety is always going to be a priority for me. So making sure that, where we have what we need in that regard to enhance our public safety and make sure that it's kept at a standard that it's always been. I also am passionate about the small businesses and business community we have here in Folsom. So that means economic development, attracting new ventures, specifically attracting ventures that cater to a variety of audiences, including younger folks, so that they want to spend their weekends in Folsom, and we're attracting others from other areas to come have fun here as well.
Okay, well, being that this is not your typical interviewer what's your favorite thing about Folsom?
Yeah, my favorite thing about Folsom is the community building. I mean, ever since growing up there as a child, I have found community everywhere I've gone. One example, I'll give a shout out to Tasty Time, which is now no longer in Folsom, but that was really a kind of a community hub for me growing up, and I think just is a testament to how important our small businesses can become. That's where your kids hang out. That's where they go after karate practice in my case, and so memories like that where I was able to cultivate a community and find places that made me feel at home is my favorite thing about Folsom.
Okay. And Tasty Time.
Yes, Tasty Time.
Okay.
It was an ice cream shop.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Where are they now?
They closed down, unfortunately. Yeah, they were a small business. Another reason why I'm passionate about small businesses is making sure they don't close down, because they are, become key parts of your memory and life experience, I think. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And Folsom, yes, I know about your favorite, your best memory of Folsom. Mm-hmm. What is a challenge that Folsom has right now that you feel needs to be addressed?
Yeah, I think we're coming up on a pretty sizable budget deficit soon. So making sure that that's handled and isn't a problem in the future is incredibly important. When we have budget deficits, it impacts a lot of services. There could be cuts that happen. So just making sure that our budget is well managed and that we don't have that become a reoccurring problem is one thing. I also think, it can be hard for young folks to stay in Folsom because of housing and affordability issues, and so that's something I'm passionate about as well.
Okay. Now, I know you shared that making sure young people are involved in the decision-making process, like you shared that a few times.
Yeah.
So with this being a challenge that Folsom is facing, the deficit, how would you bring the young people or youth in this conversation to ensure that programs that benefit them are not being...
Yeah, so I think, a good start is that my campaign is fully, grassroots community effort, and so young people are the power and the force behind this campaign, and even just that campaigning with young people has created a lot of movement in that space, because, just becoming more aware of the issues that surround us in our community is an important first step. And then once you're aware of what's going on and you start organizing and mobilizing, it just goes from there. So for me, it's about bringing them into the conversation and making sure that their perspectives are heard and noted. I also think, it's incredibly important to continue doing that as an elected official. One of the things I want to do is implement a youth commission so that we have kind of a standing voice outside of just me, right, that can contribute to the leadership and just give a perspective of, hey, this is what's going on with young people in Folsom, especially those who are about to graduate, from Folsom High, where I went, or another high school in the area and are off to college. And I think that's a really pivotal time for leadership to hear from young folks in Folsom about their plans and whether they choose to stay or come back and hopefully come back and contribute to our community and our economy.
Okay. Now, as a young person in Folsom, I hear youth commission, so you have some plans that you're ready to tackle. What do you see as an issue that youth has right now in Folsom that needs to be addressed? So when everything's implemented, you'd want to tackle that?
Yeah, I think, when we talk about, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but when we talk about, strengthening our business community and attracting new ventures to Folsom, which we have incredible opportunities in Folsom to be able to do that, I think it's important to take into perspective, what would attract young people to Folsom to want to hang out in Folsom and stay here, in weekends and not travel outside to Sacramento or Roseville to seek fun activities. And as somebody who grew up here, that is oftentimes what happens. I think taking that perspective in and creating opportunities for activities like that, when we do attract businesses and look for business ventures, that is an incredibly important step that I want to ensure happens. You can only do that by having young voices to speak to that.
Okay, so from what I understand, basically finding or identifying businesses that could set up shop in Folsom to ensure that young people are actually staying.
Yeah, absolutely. And creating, I believe in strong partnerships with our school board and our community college board. I'm a product of Folsom Lake College, and so I believe that there's partnership opportunities there. I think there should be a local trades program for high school students who aren't four-year college track. Many of which were in my grade in class. So setting young people up for success where we can. I think that creating those partnerships and being advocates, even when it comes to our community college, which is in our town, is a good way to be a leader as well.
Okay, so we know that one population has you advocating for them. Mm-hmm. Now, what do we say to the other demographics that are looking in, how your values align with them? Absolutely. What do you say to them?
Yeah, and I will say, tackling youth issues makes Folsom better for everyone. A lot of these things are issues on a big scale that may disproportionately affect youth at times, but I think they're everyone issues that would help, all residents. On a large scale, I am passionate about making sure Folsom is a great place to live for everyone. That means ensuring that our public safety is at the caliber that it needs to be, making sure that we deal with new emerging issues that Folsom maybe hasn't seen before, like the surge of homelessness, tackling issues proactively to make sure that we're setting up long-term solutions, and we're, again, working with our police department and ensuring that we are supporting their efforts and helping pave, with collaborations, helping pave the way for long-term solutions for some of these issues that are perhaps new and emerging in Folsom.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Hla. Now, based on everything, like putting everything together, one thing that we noticed with your campaign particularly, you mentioned being like Folsom needs homegrown leadership.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on what you mean by that and why that's important?
Yeah. So homegrown leadership is incredibly important. I think when you're running, especially on a local level, a lot of the doors I knock on, a lot of the businesses that have supported me, these are people I grew up with, people that I spend time with outside of just campaigning, and so a lot of the issues that I speak to and the perspectives I have come from a homegrown perspective, in that it's a personal experience, living in Folsom my whole life. So I think that's ignites a lot of passion in me, and I ultimately think that you have to have the passion and the drive to want to serve your neighbors and serve your community, and I think being homegrown is an important part of that. I'll give you an example. I knocked on my high school principal's door, who is still the principal of Folsom High School. But that's just an example of how full circle things can be when you're homegrown, and just the community that it creates, and the level of trust that your neighbors have in you when you've spent a lot of time in the place that you're running to represent. I think it's just incredibly important.
Okay, so you value having someone that is from the community and the community running. Now, do you ever have people that moved in that are kind of opposed to that, or do you find people opposed to that?
I have not come across a single person opposed to it. I think most of the time people are really happy to see somebody who went to the same schools that their kids went to, that can speak to similar experiences as their kids. It's a level of familiarity and trust that is really special, and so no, I haven't come across anybody who is opposed to it.
Good. Well, I'm glad, and thank you for addressing that, because then I want to make sure voters understand what you mean and kind of examples and the values that you have when you talk about homegrown leadership, because it's very important to have representation, someone that not only understands you but is from the same place. So thank you for sharing that. And Hla, I know we have some time left, but I wanted to give you some time. Is there something that you want the voters to know about you, your campaign, other things that were not discussed today? Because then remember, this is meant to be a candid conversation that you want them to know, so they can understand, who's behind, a lot, what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. To the voters, I would say it's been an absolute honor and privilege to run to be your next city council member in District 2. I look forward to representing you and your needs, the bread and butter issues, the roads, the parks, the trails, and tackling some of the more challenging issues here in Folsom. I also look forward to bringing young leadership to the council to ensure that our next generation is activated and included in our decision-making policies. Thank you so much for your trust in me thus far. The support that our campaign has received from residents in District 2 has been overwhelming, and I cannot wait to represent you on the council. Thank you so much.
If you live in District 2 in Folsom, definitely, do you have an Instagram?
Yeah,
do you have anything
so on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, it is at Hla, HLA4, the number 4, Folsom. And you can also check me out at my website, which is www.hlaelkhatib.com.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Hla, and it was a pleasure having you and sharing a little bit more about the person behind this campaign for District 2 Folsom City Council, because then it's important to know about the candidate as well, not just like, oh, we're voting, here's the ballot, and check a box.
Yes, thank you for this amazing opportunity and for the great interview. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And voters, if you're out here, do not forget to register to vote and vote on November 5th. This was Hla Elkhatib. She is running for District 2 Folsom City Council. Definitely check her out and learn more about her, so when election time comes about, everybody is voting and we're ready to go, because this is going to be a pivotal year and we want to make sure we educate voters like you to ensure that you are voting. So thank you so much for catching us here, and we will catch you in the next one. Thank you.